question.
Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race ABB Formula E at Mexico City. Hello everyone, joining us, Joshua Bursch, Jess Ball. They're covering Autosport. They just got back in. Thank you both so much for being on the show. I'm Joe Samaniego. A big thank you to our Patreon investors calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, and Matt, for investing in the Grid Network. Each and every month, you two can invest through Patreon each and every month, or a one-time investment. Link in the video description. Jess, Josh, I know you've both been very busy. Encourage everyone, check out Joshua Bursch Motorsport. Link in the video description of the Autosport. Great coverage. We got to talk about Mexico City. Porsche. They are looking hard to beat. All Porsche front row. Pascal Wehrlein taking the pole. Antonio Felix da Costa right there. Has some issues. Rear suspension, a little noisy. Let's see what he could get done in the race. But the car, it looks planted on the long straightaways when it's going really fast. Pascal Wehrlein won here last year on the pole. He has swept the poles for both races this year. Of course, that was so critical. He crashed out in Sao Paulo, but those 3 points for the pole are helping him out in a big way. Jess, do you believe Pascal Wehrlein could run away with this race?
Well, Wehrlein has looked very strong in Mexico City in the past, and tradition dictates sometimes that the driver that wins in Mexico goes on to have a really successful season in the FIA Formula E World Championship. And Pascal Wehrlein is recovering from a injury that he sustained in Sao Paulo, and that's a shout out, by the way, to the medical team for helping him recover. And luckily, it was 21 days, so it was absolutely fine. So I think Wehrlein's looked strong before. The circuit suits him. It suits the Porsches quite well. So I expect to see Wehrlein walk away with the race victory. I don't know about you, Josh.
It's the best possible comeback, isn't it? After literally bouncing to the wall in Sao Paulo. So it's actually been a bit of a relief to see that Porsche can start the year well, because they were ducking and diving in Sao Paulo, but they got caught up in the traffic. Now they're 1-2 at a circuit where Wehrlein goes incredibly well here. He's won here, lost races here, had redemptions. I think we're going to be in for a very interesting race in our makeshift commentary box in a hotel room in Birmingham, but it's going to be a really fascinating race, and I'm just hoping it's going to be entertaining and not just have the Porsches go away at the front, because four-wheel drive at the start, Porsches is actually in the weakest. They have the weakest launch off the line with four-wheel drive.
They have a very weak launch. The long straightaway, that could be very huge as they enter that first corner. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And another interesting development, there is the potential for rain in this race. Now, we know we have the groove tires, but they're not exactly made for rain. We saw that a few years ago in New York City when the heavy rain showed up, and next thing you know, we had cars just skidding off the track. Race ended under red flag conditions. Mexico City, very long straightaway. Very high-speed corners in this track. We also have higher altitude, so thinner air, less air to make the downforce. Josh, do you have any concerns about having a wet race in Mexico City for Formula E?
We were looking at the weather, weren't we, when we were in the media centre for Autosport during qualify, and I was a bit unsure if we wouldn't get rain, but looking at the weather forecast, the risk of rain was 15% over the course of the race. But you've got to also factor in that sunset is at 6:16, which is about an hour or two after the race starts. If we do get rain, low light cover, this race can go to 2 hours under the red flag duration, because it's an opposite of Formula 1, 1 hour race with an additional hour if we get red flagged, like we saw in Sao Paulo almost. So they've got to be looking at the skies. And it rained yesterday, Jess, out of completely nowhere.
Yeah, we weren't expecting it, weren't we? And the virtual race engineer in free practice 1 was saying, the drivers were reporting rain. We were like, hang on, rain? And you saw people just going off in turn 1, the likes of Tipton, quite a few drivers actually. A few people were actually struggling in the dry in qualifying when we were watching in the media centre. So turn 1 is definitely going to be an issue. I hate the turn 1 chicane. It is an absolute nightmare in Formula E. I'm a bit worried if it's going to rain in Mexico City this afternoon.
Yeah, the potential for rain. still pretty high. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I think the race director is going to have a role too, as well. In the chat room, Adam says, Josh and Jeff fully enjoyed the Autosport International video today. Kudos to you guys as well. And of course, we encourage everyone, link in the video description, check out their coverage from Autosport. And I have to say, this race has always seemed to have delivered some of the big excitement. But for Porsche, I feel they had to be very excited for the race. Pascal Wehrlein won here last year. Of course, they're going to be starting up towards the front. Mitch Evans. I was very curious to see what's going to happen because after what happened in Sao Paulo, last to first, one of his best start in Formula E ever in his career in a season. He comes in here with the lead, but that Jaguar powertrain, because we saw Sebastian Buemi, looked like he was going to be in the duels, lap time deleted. Nick Cassidy, same thing, looked like he was going to get in, lap time deleted. He is starting last, 22nd position. Robert Frines looked fast, but did not make it in duels as well. Jess, is there a bit of a concern with this Jaguar powertrain being behind the Porsches and concerns about the reliability as well?
Yeah, I think we've seen in Mexico in the past. It's just so hard to overtake. And Porsche in the past have had such a huge advantage on circuits like this. Mitch Evans was able to recover from last on the grid to win the race in Sao Paulo, which is unheard of in Formula E. Yes, we've seen cars in the past go from to the back of the grid after lap 2 or 3, but we've never seen someone go to win the race after last on the grid. So Mitch Evans is under huge pressure to deliver with a powertrain that's just not working. Porsches with Antonio Da Costa at the helm as well, because they look so brilliant in the duels. Jaguar, it's just going to be so hard to keep up for them.
They've got to remember another thing. We saw this bubble over at the end of last season, and even in Sao Paulo, the fact that Cassidy is done playing second fiddle to Evans.
Yeah.
So we're going to really have Florian Monaghan trying to hold everyone together and just keep everything calm. And hopefully we're in for an interesting race. And James Barkley is well going to be looking down at Jaguar, seeing what they can pick up on it coming in. I'm under the assumption that we're going to see Cassidy go quick early on, lift off the pace mid-race like he did in Sao Paulo, but then Evans is going to be right on his heels as always. And then you've got to deal with the Porsches. I'm expecting at least a 4-way fight in the early stages. Dennis, I don't know if he's going to be up there, even though he did get through and he starts fourth on the grid. I don't think he's going to have a better
Dennis had a much better session compared to obviously Sao Paulo, but Dennis, I think, he's on a comeback charge. Of course, he did well in season 9, I believe, in Mexico City. He went on to win that one. So you never know. Jake Dennis could be in the mix, but again, with the powertrain, it provides such a huge advantage. Jake Dennis is going to need a miracle.
And four-wheel drive is so crucial now. With the 350 kilowatt activation, when you go through attack mode, you become four-wheel drive. And we saw in Sao Paulo, it is like a rocket. You get it on the starts and you get that on the straights. And the long straights here, you worried about this, weren't you, with the funnel effect at turn 3?
Yeah.
This four-wheel drive is going to have drivers going around the outside line trying to sweep in, but it funnels so much faster now at 3. And it's a hot zone on the map, actually, of the track we've got up in the comms box.
It's going to be very interesting because one of the things, as you mentioned, Porsche, they're up towards the front. The Jaguar powertrains, they could get their act together and start working their ways to the front. We could have a very exciting race. For Nick Cassidy, I have to say this. Cassidy starting last. Huge disadvantage after what happened. Looked like he was going to get into the top 8. Did not. He did not score points in Sao Paulo, but he was running up front towards points position, maybe even a podium. He has seemed to be on the slump since Portland, when he was leading with 2 laps to go, last corner, spun it, has not been 100%. Do you believe in Mexico City? Can Cassidy work his way towards the front, and would a points finish be good enough to boost that morale, Josh, for him to make a season-long effort of good runs and maybe a championship?
Yeah, I touched on this a minute ago, didn't I, as well, because I got distracted with the plane flying over. We're right next to the buzz tower. So we're getting buzzed, but great Wi-Fi signal. I touched on it a second ago. Now, I think we're going to see Cassidy. We said about the powertrain, of course, that Jaguar is going to be more reliable. He's done playing second fiddle to Evans. But Cassidy standing from the back, he can easily do what Evans did with that forward drive. It's no doubt that he's going to be right up there, straight on, early in the race. In my book, he'll do what I said. He'll get the early attack modes. He'll get to the front, pick them off one by one, and then he'll be having to deal with Evans again.
I think
the Porsches.
I won't be surprised if Cassidy makes his way to get a podium, because we saw that with Mitch Evans last time out in Sao Paulo. Wouldn't it be great if he goes on to win the race in Mexico City? That will just be like in the history books too. And of course, he likes circuits like this as well. He came so close a few seasons ago, so I won't be surprised if he gets top 10 in the podium. There's been a few races last year where Cassidy went from last place to finish like top 10, top 5. So it's not impossible for Nick Cassidy.
And he's going to be doing it as well with a car that is just been evolutions above the Gen 3, which is such a strong car for Jaguar with that powertrain. So I'm looking forward to it in a couple of an hour's time. We'll be going on here for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm certainly optimistic we're going to be in for a good race, but I'm expecting to be sort of kneeling down at the side of the commentary box if we get red flags and delays.
Red flag delays. We've seen plenty of safety cars. And of course, this track is going to be a lot more different where you have the much open space. There's going to be that funnel effect after that one hairpin, the stadium section. That's going to be very interesting. I think if Nick Cassidy could just avoid the trouble, work his way towards the front, if he was to get a top 5 finish, that could just be a good start to, okay, top 5 finish. Next race, let's try to get a good qualifying lap, not have an issue, then start mounting together a good challenge, because we know Formula E, so unpredictable, so competitive. You just need to put together some good races. For McLaren, it looked like Sao Paulo will be a start of a great season, with Tyler Bernard leading a 3-4 finish, his first podium, his first debut race with McLaren. Bird right behind him, but in qualifying, Bird 12th fastest, not exactly a good effort. And Taylor Bernard 19th in qualifying. Of course, similar powertrain, Oliver Rowland with the Nissan powertrain, the only Nissan powertrain that got in the top 10. I have to ask, just considering Taylor in his first race, a rookie, 20 years old, gets a podium. People are talking about him. What an effort. Shiny moment from the grid never even. What does a good race for him this weekend look like? Is that a podium finish again? Is that a points finish? Or just logging the laps and finishing the car in one piece? Because he's a rookie and this is only his second start.
Yeah, it's only his second full season start, because don't forget, I think he was reserved last season.
Didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did 2 races last season, because I think Sam Bird had his wrist as well. But I think what helped Taylor Barnard in the Sao Paulo E-Prix was the safety cars. He was able to recover quite nicely. There was a big pile-up, which unfortunate that Pascal Wehrlein was involved in, which helped him climb up the order a little bit. So I think for him, I would say a good result will be top 10 finish, because he's still getting used to the car. I know in Formula 2, I don't think they've raced Mexico, so he doesn't have an idea of what the Mexico City track is like, even though it's different to F2 and F2, the F1 configuration too. So I say just get experience. He's got Sam Bird to help him as well, and Sam Bird will do anything to help the team. Sam Bird is always about the team. Sam Bird is very experienced. I think as long as Taylor Barnard could get points, I think that'll be a really fantastic result for him, considering from where he started. And I was really shocked he got knocked out of qualifying, actually, because, Josh, we were talking about it in FP1 yesterday. He finished second or third in FP1, so I was just like, yeah, it's going to be another good weekend for him. Then bang, he got knocked out in qualifying, and he didn't make it to the duels.
Yeah, it's going to be another Mitch Evans situation, isn't he? That he's going to have to come from the back of the grid to the front. I think I agree with you. Top 10 is going to be his best result he can hope for. It's not like what we had in Sao Paulo, where it's completely unpredictable. Teams have now got data, proper race data on what these are like. The only variable is going to be the rain, which is sort of hanging around, waiting, as it does here, 2,000 to 200 meters above sea level. So I'm going to say he'll finish 9th. Get a couple of points, and he'll drop down the order in the standings, because he's currently 3rd.
8th, I think, for me. I think he's going to finish 8th. I'm going to go one up on you, Josh.
One up. Right, well, we'll write that down, ready for when Ed asks us later.
Yeah, good point.
I gotta say, I feel a points finish would be great for him just to continue those point finishes, point runs. It's so easy for a rookie to get caught up, like, oh, I'm trying to get more and more, make that rookie mistake, crash out, put yourself behind. Be really interesting. I think the leadership at McLaren could be really helpful for him because Mexico City, plenty of action over the years, some epic finishes. The racing is not exactly Peloton style like we see in some tracks, like especially in Portland. But now we have this new car. We have the new attack mode, as you mentioned, Josh. We're now all-wheel drive. Once you hit that attack mode, looks super powerful. I'm curious to see if it's going to be just as powerful at this race. Will it still be much more of an offensive move rather than a defensive move? And then the chance of rain that could really impact this race. So I have to ask you, Josh, start with you. What kind of strategy will you think the drivers and the teams are considering for today? Will it involve attack mode before the rain event occurs in case the rain shows up? Or are they going to be thinking attack mode could be really good, all-wheel drive in that rain be even more powerful? How do you think the teams and drivers are thinking of strategy with the potential chance of rain?
I think a couple of important points to note out. 80% of the race is 28 laps. After that point, if the red flag comes out, that's it, race over. And crucially, we didn't get that when the second red flag happened with Wehrlein jumping into the fence last time out. So that is sort of the magic roundabout lap 28. It's a 36-lap race. Now, the energy, 38.5 kilowatts. That's how much the drivers get to use. In terms of regen under braking, you get only 0.93% back. So every time you hit the brakes, that's how much you're allowed to recharge the energy to get it over the race. So they've got about between 7 to 1% per lap of energy plus the regen. So we're looking around about a 1.4 to 1.5% energy lap at best. They're going to be hoping for no added laps. They're going to be hoping certainly for no safety cars. Now, if it's a dry race, expect the teams to take the the safest option for the attack mode, which is 4 minutes either side of the 8. But if there is a chance of rain, expect them to take this option, which is 6 minutes to begin with and 2 at the end. So using more in the first attack mode when it's dry and you can make the positions up. And then if it rains later, you've only got 2 minutes, slipping around, race might get red flagged. If you're optimistic and the race gets restarted or it's only a light sprinkle, you go for the first option, which is take 2 minutes at the start of the race and then save it for 6 minutes. If it's in damp conditions, you've got all-wheel drive, you can slip around everyone, and it's going to be like having ice skates when everybody else is going around on, I don't know, normal sole feet.
And one you feature on those Evo cars, we were talking about it yesterday, is the all-weather tyres. It has more grip, and it's just so good with the all-wheel drive, as we were just saying, and it gives more speed as well. So maybe the damp conditions might be suited to the cars. We don't know. So maybe they would want to take the attack mode when it's at the crossover period. It's a bit of dry and it's a bit of rain, and they're able to carry more speed. So I would expect for them, in my opinion, they're probably going to spread it out a little bit, but they're going to hope there's no safety car. So I wouldn't take it if it's fully chucking it down with rain, because it's a debate we're discussing with Ed, who's joining us later. I think if there's a safety car, they should pause the attack mode and be able to use it. But is it fair on the ones who've already used it in green flag? I don't know. It's a really tough debate, I think. But I think the all-weather tyres, this is one of my favourite features of these cars. It just makes things very, very interesting, and it just saves a lot of time.
If it gets red flagged, we'll have plenty of time to debate it, though. That's the good
thing.
That's
a good thing.
We'll be fine.
It's going to be very interesting. About an hour's time. The music's here. That means it's time for Pick a Winner. Looking at the leaderboard, we've only had one race so far for 2025. That was in 2024 Formula E. Alex Fleener leads Matt White. So Josh, this is your opportunity to try to get on the leaderboard, potentially tie for the lead. Starting with you, Jess. Who is going to win the Mexico City E-Prix for ABB Formula E?
Well, it's a tough call, but I think Porsche are looking so good this weekend.
I'll agree with you. I'll go Porsche, but I will go with Costa over that of Wehrlein.
And I will go with Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah, I'm probably going to change my bet because he's along with
but we've got time until lights out to make our decision.
I'll think I'll stick with Prince Austin.
Yeah, what about you, Joe?
Oh man, for me, I'm actually going to go with a surprise. I think if we have a dry race, use that slipstream, and then at the end, make that move. I'm going to go with Mitch Evans, the points leader, to get the win at Mexico City. In the chat room, Adam has gone with Antonio Felix da Costa as well.
He's agreeing with you, Josh.
Making it more Porsches towards pick a winner. And of course, we encourage everyone across social media, pick a winner, hashtag, find it on our social media platforms. And of course, we want to thank everyone for tuning in today for Grid Live Pre-Race Formula E. Now, of course, Josh, you're going to be doing commentary, but for some of our viewers that are not familiar with the Autosport event going on, can you tell some of our viewers what you and Jess have been working on?
Well, earlier on, we did a live stream on the JB Motorsports channel for about 90 minutes, and we went around the F1 exhibition, which is the grid, which is 75 years of Formula One, many different cars ranging from 1950 all the way up until the present day. We've gone around all the event stalls as well. So basically, if you're a motorsport fan, this is the perfect kickoff for a season, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I've got a few footage of those cars as well, and I managed to see the motorsport grid. I've also got some footage from my own YouTube channel as well. We're planning to get some more interviews tomorrow. I'm doing some content for Formula Student as well, but it's just been so great so far, especially the 75 years. They put in a lot of effort, and the posters look brilliant as well. But you should be able to check it on JB Motorsports is the place to be for all sport content. But you can also check out my all sport content at JessGames95 on all social medias, X, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, we'll also try and get some of the best bits as well out there on the Grid Network, and especially when we're on the Grid Tonight show next Wednesday.
And of course, encourage everyone, subscribe to both channels, link in the video description for everyone's channel. And a big thank you to our Patreon investors, calling the show, Mark, Ron, Dave, and Matthew, for investing in us each and every month, helping us pay the bills, stay on the air, and get to the track more frequently. Love to get our team to the track more and more. And of course, busy Saturday. Of course, I know Josh, Jess, you're going to get ready for Formula E. Then about an hour or so after the race, the wrap-up show for Formula E. It's going to be very busy Saturday, but it's motorsports. We're getting back into the grind. And the best part, we're now a couple of weeks away before it really starts to kick off with the IMSA Rolex 24, then NASCAR, the F1, IndyCar, and full speed ahead for all of our channels. For Joshua Burst and Jess Ball, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the race.